Hi, welcome back. Actually, I should probably say welcome back to myself since I haven't posted anything since the beginning of this semester. I'm sorry, I had intended on posting throughout this semester and taking you along with me on the journey of being 26, back in college for my senior year, living in a dorm room, and the chaos of college life. But as soon as I stepped on campus, I was overwhelmed and I got a new job in the beauty industry, which I love, but literally my schedule has been totally booked up and social media in general has just taken a back burner in my life. So this video, I'd like to tell you what I have learned in this break from social media and the effects that media consumption and just social media in general have had on my life. And I'm turning this video in for my final presentation for my media literacy course. So I might be a little bit more formal. So I'm going to leave timestamps in the description below in case you're only interested in a part of what I'm going to be talking about. But basically in this video, I'm going to tell you about the niche audiences that I have created content for, as well as the niche audiences that I am a part of as a consumer, the effects that media has had on my life, and then finally what I plan on doing to change my content creation and consumption for the future. I have created content for 3 niche audiences, the first being the anti-MLM community, in which I shared my story of being in Amway and connected with other people who have been burned by multi-level marketing pyramid schemes. The second was health and weight loss, and I shared my journey. I kind of documented my weight loss for the first 70 pounds that I've lost. And then finally, my niche audience is probably just people who are interested in me as a person, probably people that I've met in person and stay connected with me and just my life in general. I've consumed content in similar niches in the anti-MLM community, health and weight loss community, and I also consume beauty content and like self-improvement content. I also read print media in the form of books, particularly nonfiction and self-improvement, but I've taken a break from that obviously since being in school and just reading textbooks and writing papers. I also used to binge watch Netflix, so I would watch reality TV shows, cooking shows, and just general like fictional shows on Netflix. Creating anti-MLM content was a very positive experience at first because it created this sort of psychological convergence of people who had shared experiences, and in my content I was able to find a community of people who had a similar experience and find ways to cope with what I was healing from, and it had positive emotional effects of that kind of comfort and community. It did, however, have a little bit of negative emotional effects because it was constantly something that was on my mind, and regardless of how much time had passed from my experience in multi-level marketing, I was still keeping those memories fresh in order to talk about them more, which it was beneficial to the anti-MLM community because I feel like that psychological convergence, that community was important to continue to heal in general. But for me personally, I was holding myself back from fully healing by continuing to stay in that state of mind and thinking about those memories. With regards to my health and weight loss content, that did have a lot of positive emotional and behavioral effects because I was really encouraged by a lot of people who were viewing my weight loss content, and I was motivated behaviorally to continue staying on the right track with weight loss. But it also had some negative emotional and even physiological effects in the way that I was anxious about critics and hate comments, where it's like, obviously as a YouTube creator, you have to anticipate that there are going to be people who are just going to bully you in the comments or have negative criticism, but it came to a point where it was no longer fun to share that content because I was so anxious of the things that people were going to say in criticism. Consuming anti-MLM content had a lot of cognitive effects that were beneficial to me when I was in an intentional state and actually intentionally consuming that content for the purposes of information and critical thinking. However, it had negative emotional and attitudinal effects when I just had it in the background or I consumed it too much, because it kept me in a negative state of mind for a really long period of time, or just subconsciously I was consuming negative media messages all the time, and it really had some negative impacts on my general attitude and emotional well-being. The same goes for health and wellness content. In general, I have positive emotional and attitudinal and behavioral effects by consuming that kind of social media content about weight loss and health. However, there's a side of that weight loss community and like the reaction community where it becomes really negative in criticizing people who don't lose weight or people who make poor health choices, to the point where I became really self-critical in the way that I was thinking about my own habits and my own body. And so I think I needed to have a little bit more moderation when it came to consuming that content, and a little bit more discernment in what kind of content within that community I needed to consume. In terms of consuming beauty content, there's a lot of positive cognitive effects because I'm gaining information about what's new in the beauty community, which is necessary for the kind of work that I do. However, when it comes to the emotional, behavioral, and even physiological effects of consuming beauty content, I have experienced a lot of negativity simply because I'm sucked into the shopping vortex of all these ads being specifically targeted to what I have clicked on in terms of what content I consume, and also the ads that I click on, because the algorithms of every single website that I have visited has targeted my shopping habits, and I have some sort of like shopping addiction. You could see in the background that my makeup collection is getting out of hand. And so while it's necessary that I consume beauty content, it's also something that I really need to be careful of what kind of effects that beauty content is having in my own psychology, and whether or not I'm becoming discontented with my own life because I just constantly see advertisements for new things that are supposed to make me happy. Consuming self-improvement content, whether it's reading a book or watching a video about self-love, self-care, that's always had beneficial behavioral, cognitive, emotional, attitudinal, physiological effects. It's always calmed me down and released a lot of anxiety and just kind of given me a little bit of a better outlook on myself. And I think that's something that I'd like to consume more of in the future. Whereas watching Netflix has almost always triggered negative effects. Sometimes watching like cooking shows, or even watching shows like Gilmore Girls, where every single scene is shot in a restaurant or with like large amounts of junk food being consumed, it's triggered binges for me. It's easy for me to get discontent with my own life, and this kind of like reality TV show uses this tactic called next step reality, where it's similar to what real life is like, but it's just one step outside of that. It's one step more glamorous, one step more fantasy, and it kind of creates this illusion in our mind that that is possible for real life, whereas that's actually just advertising. That's just the entertainment business drawing you into this fantasy of a better life, and that really creates discontentment in my own life. And I've experienced a lot of like depressive kind of symptoms from overwatching that kind of content. Binge watching Netflix has also often put me in a transported state where I'm not paying attention, and it's not even just automatic unconscious consumption, but I am completely transported from my reality to the fictional reality in a TV show, and that has negatively impacted me. It makes me feel disoriented and also discontented with my own reality and the possibilities for my own life because of this fictional portrayal of life that I am transported into by binge watching a Netflix show. So in terms of my future plans with my content creation and content consumption, I've reflected on this break from social media and realized that I haven't really missed creating anti-MLM and health and wellness content. It served its purpose in its time. creating anti-MLM content and consuming anti-MLM content was necessary for me to dissect and discern for myself my own anti-MLM or my own multi-level marketing experience. And it did allow me to have that community that I could heal in and find people who had similar experiences. But honestly, now that I have taken a break from that, I'm realizing that stepping away from that content was necessary for me to continuing my healing by not always having it at the forefront of my attention and not always constantly remembering the things that I experienced in that setting. So I probably won't be creating any more anti-MLM content. For the people who continue to reach out to me on Instagram for specific questions or help, I'm more than happy to help people, and I have a lot of messages to respond to. But in terms of creating that content, I don't have any desire to continue to appeal to that niche. I think that the anti-MLM community has served me well, and I also think that what I have created in that community has served that space well as well. But I don't need to do that anymore. And then in terms of health and wellness and even mental health content, again, it was necessary in the time that I needed to have a community and have a focus and accountability, but it had gotten to a point where it was causing me more anxiety than help and reassurance. And so honestly, I've enjoyed having this last 4 months to just kind of take care of myself without having the spotlight be on what I was doing and having to present every part of my life to this public platform. I've enjoyed having that more private. And so I'm going to keep it private from now on. I'm going to continue to lose weight and continue to work on my mental health, but it would serve me best if I did that privately. And I have to be selfish in that because this is my health journey. So I'm going to take that in my own hands and keep that more close to my chest. But in terms of beauty content, while I'm going to be a more conscious consumer of beauty content, I'd also like to start creating more beauty content. Not specifically to appeal to a niche or grow a following, but just because I think creating that kind of content in using the products that I already have and making the most of my creative abilities with the plethora of makeup that I already have, I think that that would be more inspirational to me, and a lot of my energy could be put into creating that kind of content rather than just constantly purchasing makeup to try to quench that thirst and satisfy that creative drive. I'll also be consuming a lot more self-care and self-love content and reading books that were recommended to me by my therapist. But again, like I said about my mental health and my physical health journey, that's going to be close to my chest because that is now going to be something that I'm going to keep private. And in general, staying away from Netflix these last 4 months because I've been so busy with school and work has been really beneficial. And I think I'm going to keep that distance from binge watching shows. Obviously, I don't think that it's harmful to watch movies or shows. It's just that for me, I think that I need to be more in real life experiences. And these past 4 months have really helped me see that I was missing a lot of my own reality by trying to escape into this fantasy, fictional reality that is presented in Netflix. In my most difficult times of depression, that was always my escape tactic, was binge watching TV shows. But now, even though I know that college is not an accurate reflection of what real life is for the entirety of your life, it's not going to be constantly go, 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 and it's not going to be constantly surrounded by friends and professors and employers, and it's a really high energy kind of season for me being in school. But even outside of school, I think I'd like to find more joy in real life experiences rather than the fictional experiences that I watch on Netflix. So in terms of consuming media, there are certain things that I'm going to continue to consume for the cognitive benefits of gaining that information, like the beauty community and health and wellness, and consume those in moderation because it still is entertaining and some of that content is still motivating. But taking what I've learned this semester, I'm going to be a lot more cognizant of the fact that sometimes too much of a good thing can have negative effects on me. I think from now on, I'm just going to use social media for fun, whether I'm creating beauty content because I feel like I need to creatively express myself in a video, or just posting fun things that I'm doing in my life on Instagram or Facebook or whatever. I think that would be a lot more enjoyable and a lot more beneficial to me to just use social media as a fun expression rather than anything that I am going to be posting really personal stuff online for the sake of following or for the sake of helping other people. Honestly, I think I'd like to live those experiences in the real world rather than constantly seeking approval or seeking community online, because I think that that's just the season of life that I'm in now. So I hope you've enjoyed this video. I definitely would love to chat with you guys in the comments and catch up because it's been so long. And finally, I will leave you with a slideshow of photos that I have taken yet not posted because I've been too busy living life in the real world rather than posting on social media. So I love you guys so much. Thank you so much for watching. Dr. Hodge, I will see you next semester. And I hope you guys have a great day. Okay, bye.
Hardest work goodbye ever, but we are on to the next adventure, and you know, I'm really excited about what's gonna happen next. It's a little bit daunting, but you know what? We just keep pushing forward and progressing, and I'll be swinging by this workplace again. Got a lot of friends here, so yeah. On to the next thing.
Apologize if you hear screaming. I live in a dormitory, so this is my life.